Hi, it's Renae, and today I'm doing something a little bit different and I'm going to share my Sunday meal prep with you. Of course, each week my meal prep does look different depending on what I'm making, but hopefully this video will give you an idea of what I typically do on a Sunday. This week I'm starting with my homemade granola. I make this by combining 1 cup of oats, 1 cup of slivered almonds, 1 cup of buckinis, 1 cup of puffed quinoa, 1 cup of shredded coconut, and then some tahini. Now, of course, you can add whichever natural sweetener you prefer. I've made this before with maple syrup and it's delicious, but this week I'm using a barley malt extract. It's full of B vitamins and it gives it a nice malty taste, and it's also not too sweet. Now that the muesli is prepped, it goes into the oven at 160 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes, and it's time to start working on my bliss balls. I'm starting with 10 medjool dates, but I like to cover them in boiling water to soften them a little bit before putting them in the food processor. To make the bliss balls, I'm combining 1 cup of cashews, 1 tablespoon of tahini, 2 tablespoons of cacao, a pinch of salt, the dates which I've drained, and then I'm just going to blitz them for 1 minute in my food processor. I'll then roll the mixture into balls, and I typically find this recipe makes 10. You can roll them in coconut if you'd like, but I'm just going to leave mine plain. I'm going to allow the bliss balls to set in the fridge and move on to making my son's school lunches. Potato salad is one of his absolute favourites, and I'm going to make enough for the next 2 days. I'm going to peel, cube, boil and drain 4 large potatoes. Now I have my potatoes boiling on the stove top, I have my muesli in the oven, I have my bliss balls in the fridge, and I'm going to start working on our snacks. I'm going to start with some carrot sticks. Personally, I don't like taking carrot sticks to work each day, but my son and my husband both do. However, I find if I prep too many days in advance, they can go a little bit funny, so I just prep them each night for the following day. I'm going to do 3 carrots, and that will be enough for both my son and husband's lunch on Monday. To take my granola out of the oven and just give it a little bit of a toss so that all of it will cook through. But also at this point I'm going to add some dried fruit. Now my favourite is Inca berries, but I'm out of those at the moment, so I'm using white mulberries and cranberries. The granola now goes back in the oven for another 20 minutes, still at 160 degrees Celsius. Now while I like having granola for breakfast every morning, my husband likes overnight oats. Here I'm combining half a cup of oats, 1 tablespoon of a seed mix that I have on hand, 1 teaspoon of chia seeds, and this will help set it a little bit. And then at this point I'll add some fruit. Sometimes I add bananas or whatever fruit's in season, but I had 2 apples that I needed to use up. They were going a little bit funny, so I've peeled them and grated them, and then I'm going to make this an apple crumble style of overnight oats. never done this before, but I decided since I was going for that apple crumble flavour that I'd add some currants. Now you just need to cover the oats with your favourite plant-based milk. I'm using almond milk, and this one is a vanilla flavour. Because of that, I'm not using any other sweetener. I also had a nectarine that I wanted to use up, so I'm going to use that to decorate the top of the oat. And just to finish off, I'm going to add some cinnamon. Actually, I found some cinnamon sugar in our pantry as well, so I put a tiny sprinkle of that on the top too. Now I'll just place the lids on those and store them in the fridge. I find this breakfast so quick and easy to make, and it's great if you're in a rush in the morning and just need to grab something really quickly. Earlier in the week we had tacos for dinner, and these are the mini wraps that I have left over. Instead of throwing them out, I'm actually going to turn them into chips. To do this, I'm going to slice them into pieces, pop them on my silicone baking mat. I'll give them a little spray with some coconut oil, and then you can add whichever seasoning you like. I've used a lemon and garlic Celtic salt infusion. It's from a brand called Salted Cure, and I'll put a link to their Instagram page in the description box below. Now I'll just make sure all the tortilla pieces are well coated, and then I'm going to turn my oven up to 220 degrees Celsius and remove my granola. As you can see, it's now all golden and toasty. I'm going to let that cool down, and then I'm going to store it in an airtight container. This generally lasts me about 2 weeks. Now I'm going to start working on the salads for my lunch and my husband's lunch. Sometimes I'll make 2 days worth of salads at a time, but today I'm only going to make one. I'm going to combine a handful of chopped spinach, and then I'm going to spiralise some cucumber and zucchini. I love spiralising my vegetables. I find that this is a really good way to eat them in our lunches, and this cucumber is actually homegrown from my neighbour's garden. It's absolutely beautiful. I never used to spiralise my cucumbers, but now I think it's probably my favourite way to eat them. And this cucumber even had a little handle on the end, which made it really easy to turn. However, one tip I do have if you're going to spiralise your vegetables is to chop them before you add them to your salads. It just makes it a lot easier to eat them when you're either at school or at work. We had some leftover pasta in the fridge, so I'm adding that to the salads, and then I'm going to mix all of this together to create my base. I also had some leftover celery sticks in the fridge. You might have noticed by now that I do like to use up leftover food to avoid wasting anything. Of course, if food's gone bad, I won't use it, but if something can be used, I'll find a way to incorporate it into our lunch. I was really enjoying the colour combination of yellow and green, so to finish off our salad I've added some diced capsicum, some corn, snow peas and some blanched edamame. And I'll always keep a few extra ingredients to the side to garnish the salad, because another one of my Sunday jobs is to take a photo for my Instagram page. Then I'll finish everything off with a sprinkling of hemp seeds. At this point my tortilla chips are ready. I think they were in the oven for about 15 minutes, and I'm just going to put them to the side to cool. Now I'm going to make the dressing for our salads. I'm combining some apple cider vinegar with some vegan mayo. This particular brand is made out of chickpeas. I'm also adding some seeded mustard and some maple syrup, and then I'll just whisk that together. time to put together my lunchbox for my Instagram photo. So I'll decide which salad I think looks the best, and then I'm going to combine that with all of the other things I've prepared. Although I forgot to mention earlier that I did chop up a really large piece of watermelon yesterday, and that's part of my weekly meal prep. And I did also just sneak a little bit of leftover tempeh into my lunchbox. So this lunchbox that I'm packing is for my husband. He eats a lot more than I do, and he is taking one of the salads, a serving of the carrot sticks, some of the watermelon, and a serving of those chips. I've packed the other ones for my son. And in the final 2 containers, I'm going to add one of the bliss balls that I made earlier. And then because I have a space, I'm going to add some dip to go with the chips. And this particular dip is a beetroot and almond dip. I didn't end up packing a serving of the chips for myself because I think I snacked on my share while I was making all the other food. My lunch for tomorrow will be a salad, a bliss ball, and a serving of the watermelon. Now I'm just going to finish off the watermelon with a little sprinkling of chia seeds, and then I'm done. The next job is to assemble the potato salad. Today I'm going to add some spinach, some spring onion, some more of that celery that I want to use up, some zoodles, and some red capsicum. Now that the veggies are all prepped, I'm going to add some fresh herbs. Today I'm using chives, which I'm just going to cut with some scissors, and dill. I absolutely love the combination of potatoes and dill. It reminds me of my nana as she used to cook with those 2 ingredients all the time. Oops, and I almost forgot I also added some yellow tomatoes. So the way that I cook my potato is I cover it with cold water, bring it to the boil, and then allow it to boil for a further 10 minutes, and then I strain it and allow the potato to cool. I do have a recipe for potato salad on my Instagram page, and I will link that in the description box below. I'm using the same dressing that I made earlier, making this recipe completely dairy-free. Now because this salad is for my son and he really likes chili, I'm going to add some chili flakes as well, but that's completely optional. I'm going to mix all the ingredients together and then put them into containers. I like to reuse the containers that are left over from my coconut yogurt. This way, if they don't come home from school, which sometimes containers don't do, I'm not as upset. And that's it, I'm finished for the day. So it isn't a typical week of meal prep in that I have food for the whole week, but I'm certainly a lot more organised and I have lots of things that will make my life a little bit easier throughout the week. Thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you subscribed to my channel, if you gave this video a thumbs up or left me a comment. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.